mate of mine sent me a message and said, "Hey Timmy, do you want to drive my race car?" I said, "Yes, of course I do." Now this thing's pretty wild. Just down here at the shed now. Come check this out. So here we have a race car of some description. We got David here, he's currently working on it. What exactly is this? What do we got?
So we've got a Mazda KL engine bolted to a home-built chassis up front here, and this is a 1980s Formula One transaxle.
Right. Okay. So let's start at the back because I think this is probably the most.
That's the most interesting.
That's the most interesting part. So this is a 1980 spec Formula One rear end, right?
Commodore drive shafts.
Okay.
Formula One hubs.
So these are ex-Formula One.
These are ex-Formula One.
Along with the brakes?
I think those are more up to date, I think. These,
okay.
But they are Formula One spec carbon ceramic brakes, I believe.
And then it's like a 6-speed dog box?
6-speed straight cut, yeah. Good dog box, yeah.
Yeah. Just a little bit of background. This car is a hill climb car, right?
Pretty exclusively, yeah.
Roy's toy for hill climb racing, very short sprints up the hill. He's fabricated and made the whole front end himself. And then he's used a Ford or a Mazda 2.5 litre, is it?
2.5, yeah.
Yeah, that they get from You Pull It for roughly $200. Bolted that to a Formula One gearbox and transaxle rear end.
Because why not?
Because why wouldn't you do that? And then, just for fun, he then put 2 turbochargers on it. So these are SR20 turbos, 2 of those, obviously with intercoolers, on the side of the V6 motors.
These are Navara shocks.
So we've got some 4-wheel drive parts in here.
Yep, and these, there's your springs. They're just Belleville washers stacked up on the shock.
What?
Yeah, it works.
Hey, if it works, don't knock it, eh?
Exactly right, yep.
Wowee. Every time I come and see it, I just learn something new, and it's just insane every time.
There's so many different parts from all over the place that have been smashed together to make it work. It's a bit of a mishmash.
So awesome. The crazy thing is, though, we've got this open wheeler that's essentially designed around an older spec Formula One car, literally built in some little tiny shed out the back of nowhere, and I'm all about it. I think it's fantastic.
It has a cannon pole diff, which is fully open until you apply power, and then it's fully locked. So it just and that with the power delivery of the turbos, it tends to step out instantly as soon as you give it the beans.
Wow, that doesn't sound frightening at all.
Well, now we've got the wing.
Okay, we got some.
There down there. That's tamed it quite a bit.
Okay, so the aero's actually doing a significant amount, even up the hill climb. So, what do we got here? Of course, it's a double element wing at the back.
Exactly.
With a little gurney flap. Again, just very F1 inspired from older vehicles, built in a shed. But hey, it seems to be getting the job done.
Well, we know it works because we did the trick from Ford versus Ferrari with the cotton tufts.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, take the cotton tufts all along and pointed a GoPro at it.
Yeah, right.
They're following the
following
the line of the wing, so it's definitely working.
What are they doing? Making your car faster.
Out at the Colin Grove Hill Climb last time, had some engine issues. The old block said no thank you. And so Dave's gone and got another You Pull It spec motor. This is a stressed part of the vehicle, right? So the engine is actually part of the chassis. Again, exactly the way old Formula One, or even newer Formula One is built. So the engine block itself bolts to the gearbox, and the gearbox is the member that the suspension comes off of. So there's no chassis from here on backwards. It's the engine's a stressed member. So
we use one of the original engine mounts. We use this one here.
Yep.
And then the rest is there's a mount here and there.
Okay.
And there and there. So there's 5 mounts in total.
Yeah, right. That all locate to the front of the block.
All on the front of the block. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So yeah, Roy, who owns the vehicle, has actually offered to let me have a drive of it. So the goal's going to be, I've got to fit my fat ass in here somehow. So I did a quick test fit in the seat. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No.
We got some mounting points So yeah, we're going to probably make something out of sheet steel and come up with a creative way to get my fat ass sitting in here to have a bit of a steer of this weapon. So we're back at the shed, and David's been working hard. He's got hardly working. He's got this thing mostly together. We're still waiting for a turbocharger to rock up. But yeah, he can actually see the motor in the car, the big wings on it. Roy's playing around with turbo Cosworth DFX motors, because why wouldn't you have that in the back of your shed? This thing's crazy. We'll look at that in a sec.
Get your legs in there and keep it straight, and you drop your front down. We've got another space and we can chuck in there. Can you do?
I need that closer.
Yeah. All right. Well, it'll have to be one hole.
Yeah, this is the one to start on, right? That's it.
Yeah. You will be bashing your elbows on that.
Every race car gets built with this stuff, little cardboard. It's actually a really easy way to start to visualize things. So we've had this in and out a few times, had me in and out a few times, and we're just looking at some clearances. And so I'm just going to cut a little bit more and trim a little bit more, and we're going to get this thing to fit, but it's starting to come together. Where is it?
Film everything and then decide.
It's getting scary what they can do, Roy.
Isn't it?
Alright, so this is the start of the shape of what a seat might be. It still needs a little bit of work, but we're just trying to get this bottom here to sit a bit nicer. Obviously radiator here for the race car, the hose is right there, but this is a hill climb car. We're only in it for a very short amount of time, so that's what Dave keeps telling me, that you're only in it for a couple of minutes, doesn't even get hot.
It only gets hot at the end.
At the end. So we know the top of this seat works, so I don't need to redesign it. Let's just copy that, and we'll go from there.
It does look like a Darth Vader silhouette, doesn't it?
So we're calling this the Vader seat.
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Yeah, I think the wide shoulders works, doesn't it? Keeps you away from heat and engine stuff, being a bit wider there. And then while we're playing with cardboard, Roy's over here machining up some pretty nifty little bits of gear to hold on dry sump system.
Yeah, dry sump pump.
Dry sump pump on a DFX turbo 2.5 litre Cosworth.
2.65.
2.65. See, Roy knows all about these.
2.5 litre was the DFW. Used for the Tasman racing in Australia and New Zealand.
Do we race these in Australia?
In the old days, back in the late 60s, in the off season, in the winter in Europe, they would come over and race in Australia and New Zealand.
That's it.
And when the
like the Formula One cars.
we had a limit, I think, we must have had a capacity limit in Australia and New Zealand, 2.5 litres.
Okay.
So when the DFV became available,
Yeah.
they built, I think it was only 3 of them, DFWs, just a D-stroked 3 litres. And they brought them over and raced them in Australia and New Zealand.
There you go.
Of course.
Well, yeah.
And they ended up, when the Tasman series was finished, they just converted them back to DFV.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Use them again.
Just put the 3 litre cranks back in them and used them again.
How good. So this thing's insane. We've got this big crazy manifold. This is going to be designed to be run with twin turbos. We're always going to turbocharge it because this Indy cars were turboed. That's the whole DFX. The X is the turbo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So DFV was the first version of it in the, was it late 60s?
67. Yeah.
67. Yeah. That they ran in Formula One, and then IndyCar grabbed them and turbocharged them, and Roy's got one on his bench. Very cool.
There's one in the box over there as well.
Well, you got 2 casual DFXs lying around. What are we doing, Roy? Is this going in here at some stage?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Probably after you've driven the car, I'll bring it home. Because
I was just nearly
that transaxle bolts straight up to the back of this.
Right, so you got that with these motors, didn't you? And then retrofitted the Mazda V6 to it.
I bought the transaxle separate. That was the first thing I bought to build this car.
Okay, so you got the gearbox first.
Yeah, because I knew that was the part I needed. I couldn't source one of these from anywhere else. I needed, or didn't need, but I wanted a Formula One gearbox.
Right.
With the mountings for the suspension on it.
Right, okay.
Because I'm not real bright, it was much easier to buy one with the mountings already.
And they're in the right spot,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then obviously...
An adapter plate to put the Mazda in there.
So Mazda 2.5 litre V6.
Yep.
Twin overhead cam?
Yep, quad cam.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, quad cam, yep. On the V motor.
They're a great little engine. And like, strikingly similar to this. Like the bore's only a couple of millimetres difference between that one and that one.
Yeah, right.
And they rev nicely.
Yep.
We're up just over 8,000 on this one now.
What? You rev these to 8?
Yeah, the standard they rev to 7.8.
Oh, okay.
800 standard.
Yeah, but they don't come with twin turbos on them standard,
No,
right?
and that's the problem. The turbos, because you could push in pressure on the inlet valve, you actually lose some revs once you put the turbos on.
Yeah, okay.
It starts valve bouncing early. We managed to buy some, what are they? Ferreira valve springs. The guy in Canada sold them to us.
Yeah, right.
So that's picked up our revs again.
You were saying that's the one little trick to hold this motor together is you need to get those valve springs to work, and that's about it.
The valve springs and the valve retainer, we actually split.
That's what I'm looking for.
No, I've thrown them away.
Yeah.
We split, I reckon, 5 retainers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in separate engines, of course, not all at the same time.
Yeah, well.
So yeah, that was our biggest issue, was splitting retainers.
David's informed me it's rather scary as it is.
Fun.
Fun, okay. But I can't imagine it with this thing in. It will be it won't even be Formula One. It's going to be turbo. It's going to be more crazy than an old Formula One car.
Yeah. We just go to ludicrous speed with that.
Yes, we're gonna have to go right to ludicrous speed. Ludicrous speed? Sir, we've never gone that fast before. I don't know if the ship can take it.
If assuming this makes the 750 horsepower it's rated at,
Wow.
then we'll be 750 horsepower, 500 kilograms. You do the math.
That's utter madness. And we're making seats out of cardboard. So there we go. Right, let's have the last test fit. What do we got? The injectors off the
DFX. They just hose methanol in. They just hose it out a hole and bounce it off the...
So that's the injector?
Yeah, just hose it in there.
And are you going to run that? Or are you going to...
No. We're going EFI.
You've got EFI.
We're going high tech. We're going micro squirt.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah. Got one here.
We need someone to sponsor you. We need to get a PowerTech or something. Get a real computer on there. Are you really going micro squirt?
Yeah. It's 1,000 times more sophisticated than what was on there.
Well, true. Yeah. Where are you injecting fuel?
Same place. It was just injected in there.
Oh, these are your injectors. Oh, so you've already done the EFI?
Well, yeah.
Ish.
Got most of it there.
Okay, so you got a fuel rail. And what injectors are you using?
They're just out of a BA Falcon at the moment.
BA Falcon. Barra.
Yeah.
Barra injectors.
But I need to go to CNG injectors.
Okay.
Big enough injectors that'll do the job. So,
because you're doing 11,000 RPM, even though it's only 2.6. Well, I mean, 2.6. It's a Skyline GDR motor, really, isn't it? And they want big injectors,
well,
and you'll be doing more
RPM. You've only got a few hundredths of a second to get
it in there. Yeah, right.
It'll be E85, so you need to get a good amount of it in there.
Yeah.
Whereas at least in the old days, they used methanol and just hosed it in there.
Yeah.
And they weren't too fussy about mixtures.
Yeah.
I reckon at some points it was 20% too rich.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just get the fuel in there. Who cares?
They just didn't have the technology to control it.
Yep.
And then when they did go to EFI, they'd have like 20 injectors. There'd be two on each cylinder.
Yep.
And then 4 before the turbo.
So you hang around the internet and talk to people that play with these things. Mm-hmm. How many in the world would be fuel injected? Are you like kind of one of the only crazy people to do it?
Yeah, probably.
So they were still running these in the 80s?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is actually an 87, I believe.
Wow, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what's the span? 64 to... When is the last one?
Well, the DFX conversion only came about in 75.
Okay.
'67 was the first DFV.
Yep.
Yeah. And '83 was the last Formula One win with a DFV.
Really? Formula 1 '83?
Yeah.
Wow.
But when you go to '88,
yep,
with the start of the 3.5 litre formula, the DFZs at that period was still running mechanical injection, 3.5 litre, which was just a 90mm bore and a longer stroke.
Yep.
But it was otherwise the same engine.
Yeah.
And a lot of them still had the early cylinder heads.
Yeah, okay.
There was an upgrade at DFY that Mario Ilian from Ilmore did. Well,
yep.
He was working at Cosworth at the time, but he did the upgrade to DFY. But even in '88, a lot of the engines were still running the early heads.
Yeah, okay.
Mechanical injection.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool
Stuff.
So if you look at the top of the, you call it it's cam cover, right?
Cover, yeah.
So you look at the cam cover. This is actually the engine mount.
Yeah.
So
the front one's the engine mount.
The front one here. Yeah. So over here, this is actually where they mount the motor off the cam cover, not off anything else. And then you were telling me the funny story about this guy here. So this is the bottom mount. And who did you say? Who's the F1 driver?
Jimmy Clark.
Jimmy Clark. So Jimmy Clark's ass is that wide apparently. Yep. So the mount slides in under here. Then that goes to the gearbox, right?
No, to the chassis.
To the chassis. So gearbox is this side. Yeah, of course. So here's your flywheel. So this goes to the front of the chassis, and then the driver's here. So I guess we'll have a look at this car. Similar idea. Mounting the engine down there. So yeah, the width of that bracket is because that's how wide Jim Clark's ass is. Very cool. See, you come to Roy's shed and you learn something new every time. So that's version number 1 for the twin turbo open wheeler fat boy seat. I'm a massive idiot, and like always, I've left everything to the last minute. So it's Friday afternoon, and I'm literally racing on Sunday. I didn't realise what the date was, and I've left everything to the last minute. So this week's been a little bit stressful. So for starters, I had to take my helmet over to Autosport to get these attachments here so I can run the Hans device, because I must run a Hans device in the open wheeler. Grab some basic supplies from the Big Green Race Car Shop. This is going to be some padding. The chassis was right up against my ribs and near my shoulder, so we're going to put some premium padding. That's a pool noodle. And I need to make this seat. I haven't even started. Been running around trying to get some aluminium, and Dan, you mad lad, Dan, a mate of mine, had this, so he's given me this to make the seat from at the last minute. So thank you very much. That's going to get me out of trouble. And while we're there, I thought I'd treat myself a little bit, and I went out a little bit silly and bought some proper racing shoes. Now, I've got boats for shoes, and when I was trying to use the pedals and the open wheeler with these big things, it wasn't happening. And I kind of always wanted a proper set of racing shoes with the proper sole and everything. So I balled out a little bit and got myself some shoes. Then this week I had to get my licenses sorted because I haven't raced in motorsport for a little while, and so none of my stuff was up to date. Got my speed license sorted. I had to renew my club membership. That's all done and dusted at like literally this afternoon after lunch. And I entered the event super late, and I had to call them up and go, hey, I'm sorry, I'm that guy. I literally entered at 11 o'clock last night. But Melissa from Sporting Car Club was an absolute gem. She got all that sorted for me. So we are racing Sunday, but I need to sit somewhere. So I've talked too much. I need to get this seat made. Basically going to trace this out, cut it out, get it pretty close, and then I'm going to duck over to the lads and we'll get this fit to the car. So let's go. There we go. Whoa. Right, so we got that cut out. I did make a few changes to the headrest. We did have the Darth Vader style, but we found that my shoulders were actually up about here somewhere. So I decided to extend that a little bit and just make it a little bit more simple.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Now, when I was picking up the aluminium, I spied that Danielson had a bender, and so instead of trying to bend this here on my bench, I politely asked him if I can come and use it, and he said yes. So we need to get packed up and off to go see Daniel and use his bender. Dan the mad lad.
That's 15.
What sort of engineering do you do, Daniel?
A bit of everything. Release.
Yeah, it looks about right. Give that a 20, I reckon. Oh, look at that. There is a race. All right, we're back here with the car. I'm actually pretty happy with this. It's pretty good. Sort of sitting exactly where we want. Now, I'm not going to lie. Dan and I sort of just guessed the bends. But it actually come up pretty good. That's kind of exactly what we needed. So obviously it would have been a better idea to actually measure all that. But here we are. Good amount of clearance around that. And now I just got to basically pop rivet it to the floor and work out how I'm going to mount it here.
Rivet gun's all jammed up.
Oh no!
That wasn't it. The clutch seems to be... It's going in, but not a lot. Not a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Having to set the clutch because it's not... grab point's not quite right.
Pick the car up again, put it back on the stands.
Okay.
That way you can run it and put it in gear and do all that.
Have a look. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're trying to say, Roy, we're not supposed to be working on the race car the night before we race?
No. The race car should have been put on the trailer this morning.
Okay.
But he lived in Gola for a while.
Yeah, that's the clutch in.
Uh-huh.
There's that nut.
Clutch off. All right.
There's an amount of travel.
Well, somebody start him up and see if it works.
Clutch in. That's it.
Clutch no worky.
Clutch no worky.
Right, so bad news. Gearbox has to come off. And it's what, 8:30 on Friday night?
It's 8:30. It's not even close to race day. No worries.
Now, I've never worked on this car. All I've done is make that seat. David's the head mechanic, but he needs to head off. He's got work in the morning. So I am going to have a crack at taking a Formula 1 gearbox off of a custom bracket on a Ford 6-cylinder. So David's a mad lad. He's going to give me a quick hand to get the wing off because that is a bit of a two-man job. Then he's got a boost. And yeah, we'll have some fun in the shed on a Friday night. So gearbox linkage is off. Oil in here is draining. I've disconnected a whole heap of electrics, disconnected a breather. There's a few plugs in here that have come off. Brake lines have been undone. Not that involved, to be honest. Getting into all these is going to be fun, but clutch. I've got to take that clutch off. Let's do that now.
My recollection, it's these two bolts in there that you're going to be cursing.
Right. There's two in here.
There's one there.
Yeah. How do I get to them, Roy? So I always find when splitting a gearbox, there's going to be 2 or 3 bolts that are the hardest. I always like to try to start with them, and in this case, there's one down there and another one all the way over there somewhere. So I always try to start with the hardest ones because you don't want to be stuck with 2 bolts holding your gearbox on and those 2 bolts being the hardest ones to remove. So these are going to be an absolute pain. The rest are pretty good access. All down the side here, all pretty good access. So let's start with these 2 and have the fun of trying to get these off. I don't know how I'm going to get in there. It's nearly all the bolts out. Roy suggested that I actually rig the gearbox up rather than just solely rely on the stand. So we're about to go do that. But I've got 2 bolts. They're both loose. They're just holding the gearbox in place. They're about to come off. So we nearly split it. Now, my phone's gone flat. So I have 0 idea what time it is. So as far as I'm concerned, the night is young. So let's get this gearbox apart and have a look at what the problem is. And there we go. She's split in half and we've got access to this clutch. So let's start to have a dig around in here and figure out what's going on with this. Now, full disclosure, I've never worked with a twin plate clutch, so I don't really know what I'm looking for. And my phone's gone dead, so I don't have the Googles. So we're just gonna have to pull this apart and see if we can work it out. Yeah, how this is supposed to go together. The first plate that way, that plate in between, then that plate, whatever this is. Now to try to nut it out and figure out how this is supposed to go together. Right, so after a quick look, see how this one here's got the boss on it, but this one here doesn't. Now this plate was at the front. I reckon this needs to be the sandwich plate, because I reckon those two hubs there were touching together like that. So I reckon that's our issue. So if we flip that into there, then that plate goes in, and then that plate goes in, and that boss is sticking out the front there. So I reckon that's all the issue was the plates are in the wrong order. So let's get this back on the car and see how we go. Pretty sure that's the problem all solved. That's all done up nice and tight. Here comes the fun bit. I've got to try to get this motor here back on. But we do have rigging, so I can change heights fairly easily. I am here on my own. That's going to be the hard part. I'm not going to lie, I aligned those things by eye, so I'm expecting that to be a major pain. But hey, let's have a crack. Sometimes you get really lucky with these things. This here goes straight into the gearbox, so I was able to sort of move this back and forth to get the clutch to line up nicely. And we're definitely engaged now. So trying to turn the motor over. Like that, the gearbox home now, so it's sitting nice and flush on the mounting plate. Obviously all the bolts still need to be done up tight, but you can see here, this is the difference between where the arm was before and where it is now. So it's just looking a lot happier. The great thing about working in Roy's shed is just casually over the back here, we've got a couple of turbos to go on the DFX. So the last piece of the puzzle so I can go racing was a set of goggles. Got these, they're bulletproof apparently. I don't think I'd like to test that. So that's it. I've got everything that I need, everything squared away. We need to get the car completely back together and on the trailer, ready to race tomorrow. Start it up, make sure we're all good. Roy's a legend, put oil in this morning, bled the brakes for me already. So just in the back and hit go, right?
Yep.
You can see here why I had to buy the racing shoes. That bar right there, my other shoes, the toes actually hit that. And then the issue is I'm probably going to need my arm out to be able to get it back in gear. Here, my elbow's hitting. See how we go. And that's it. I think we're pretty much ready to go. My new sitting position's pretty much sorted. Might have to tweak it a bit at the racetrack once I've driven the car. But for a good start, I think that's it. I'm going to get Roy and start this up, and I'll drive it for the very first time onto the trailer, which will be interesting. So there we go, race car prep. Not as smooth as we would have wished, but still well within the Sunday that I needed to race. Unfortunately, Simon missed out on his come and try day. So we made it to the track. Dave's just prepping the car. We just had drivers meeting. I need to get changed, and it looks like we're going racing. Let's have a look at some of these other cars. So these are the little open wheelers we'll be racing with today. I'm not in their class. These guys have got smaller motors, but this is who we're racing with. These things are sick with motorbike motor. Very sick. And this one's got the motor in the front. Nice individual throttle bodies. It's really well presented. I like this. So he's trying to suction the car to the ground. And this one's actually got a proper diffuser on it. Check that out, very cool. Motorbike engine, motorbike gearbox, driven to just a live axle pretty much. There's no diff in there, is there? Check out this suspension, or cantilevered suspension, very cool.
So that's. Got, like I said, we've got. So they're not too bad.
So you're testing how hard the rubber is.
Yeah. See how much penetration you get, and measure it on a gauge. Yeah.
go.
Damn it.
That's all right, mate. No, look.
Bit more than 4.
Were you feeding in throttle as you came off?
Oh, clearly not.
Yeah. If you dump the clutch on static revs, it doesn't usually work.
It should be alright. I come off at the hairpin.
If you want to start that.
Yeah, we.
There's a treble.
That's all we pay for. That's all we pay for. Oh, that is silly. Wow.
So which end of the car came off up at the top?
I crossed it up,
Oh, good on you.
off to the grass. We need to check the wing. I think it's okay, but
It's a pretty tough thing. Let's have a look. Oh, it's a bit wobbly now. No, that's all right. I reckon these are a bit loose. Oh, the wing will be fine. It's used to getting smashed.
I reckon I hit the chassis.
Oh, that's been getting pounded against the ground forever.
That is scary. That first time it hit boost, I'm just like, oh no, what am I doing?
Hey, well, you hit boost. That's a good start.
So second was
Yeah,
alright.
you went with the right hand.
Yeah, so arm out to get it.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I left my arms out. So
Oh, okay.
I got to practice getting them back in.
Okay, the mighty
Dude, this is fast and scary and slidey. Oh wow.
Yeah.
She's just what?
Exactly right. And that's with the rear wing.
Absolute classic.
What was it like without it?
Awesome car.
More.
Wow. So off the start line, I was like blah 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 blah. That was great.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
just hooked and went.
Good.
So instead of trying to feed power, I was just blipping. I think that works for me.
Okay.
I'll just do that from now on.
Yeah.
Wowee. This is Joe's Mustang. She's brought it up here to go racing today at the hill climb. Yeah, wow.
So
This is what we like.
MSD, fuel injected.
Oh, it's injected.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay, so MSD EFI.
Yes.
Oh, that's even cooler. I really like this car.
Put a bigger radiator in.
Yep.
And we've got like this custom belt job thing.
Yeah, nice.
Mainly because these engines tend to run a little bit hotter than usual. So
So this keeps it cool enough?
yeah.
Does the job?
It loves hill climbs. Like the engine just screams its head off.
Yeah, wicked.
And yeah, it loves life.
Awesome.
This is my favourite part of the engine.
Yeah.
This is a Monte Carlo bar.
A Monte Carlo bar.
Yeah. That's its technical term.
Okay. They worked that out from racing in Monte Carlo today, or?
No, because these cars were never made to be race cars.
Yeah.
And so it stops the engine bow from twisting. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
got this reinforcement as well.
Yep.
I just like the name of it.
You need to get a sticker, the Monte Carlo bar.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Joe. This is awesome.
No worries, thank you.
You're covered in shit.
Yeah.
I'll assume there's a story behind that.
I still come off, but it's after the finish line, so does that count?
Perfect.
So up over the finish line was feed and power, slid off, and then she's off to the left side. It was just cow dung everywhere.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, but run felt heaps nicer. Fed power rather than trying to stand on it. Starting to think about apexes and stuff. Not really braking yet, so I need to start pushing more to have to brake. Much happy with that one.
Good.
Okay, we're at the end of
Still really scary.
Of course it is.
round. Okay.
first project car ever was a VH Charger, and when I was finished it was going to look exactly like that. I wanted to paint it that colour, I wanted the lights to have the black stripe, so this is amazing. Give it loads of berries, go on,
Yeah.
Rivet. Very cool to see this thing here. That was a dream at one point. I still love them, I still like one, but I learned that I like driving cars that go faster around corners instead, which is why I'm in this today. Holding your bonnet on.
This is like my 4th bonnet.
Oh really?
Yeah, if you don't put those down, this thing goes flying up. Older.
Oh yeah, I see that gas strut doing nothing.
What is that, an arrow?
Bloody arrow.
Yeah, see, perfect.
Lightweight.
Yeah.
Oh, she only just
I
fits.
was going to say, that's so tight.
Wow. Dude, this would be so much fun. What do you got over here? Oil cooler?
Yep.
Radiator?
Yep.
Is that enough?
Yep.
Is it a silver top?
Just standard, man.
Standard
Complete
silver top?
Yep. I think it made like 101 kilowatts of wheels or
Yeah,
something. That was
about right. So this is the Toyota 20 valve, so it's got 3 inlet, 2 exhaust valves. They will come factory standard with individual throttle bodies. These are good fun in a Corolla, so I can only imagine. What does this weigh?
610, I think.
Wow. It's 100 kilowatts, 600 kilos.
Yeah, so
Let's go.
it's been there for enough.
And it's got these giant mascara type eyes drawn.
I don't think your guards are big enough.
No, so look, because obviously they pumped out at the front, and they had to put 100 mil spaces at the back.
I wasn't spaced at the back.
Yeah, no, look.
100 mil. You're mad. So what, you're just using the Corolla axles?
Correct, yeah.
So that's Corolla.
That's all Corolla, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
This is cool, man. This is very cool. You put the cage in?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
It had a originally it had a cage in it, but it
Yeah.
was just a show cage.
What?
Yeah, so it had like just bolt.
Made out of aluminium or something?
It was just bolt in, but it just had like, yeah, you could almost squeeze it with your hands. I'm like,
Yeah,
nah,
nah.
I probably should get rid of that.
Yeah. Out of the wall, heading up the road. I clipped the cone, spat it somewhere. So that's it.
How's this going? There you go.
Back and forth, make sure she's locked. Yep. No, elbows in.
That's a stiff clutch. Stay on the track this time, Tim?
I'll try my best. I can't promise anything. From my track record from today, it hasn't been great, to be honest. Second one I come off, but after the finish line, so that's okay.
Well, look, you were lucky to get that last one.
Yeah. I cannot see over that.
That is significantly harder to drive and really hard to keep on track. But heaps of fun. Rad day. Come back next time and try to actually put in a good time this time instead of falling off all the time. But yeah, there you go. Driving turbo open wheelers. What a bit scary.